an account on our web server where you can put files online, and obviously the usual general knowledge applies. Yeah, don't upload your MP3 collection to our web server. Don't upload the latest movies you found on Pirate Bay to our web server. Don't put anything on the web server that shouldn't be there. So you'll get a username and a password for our web server, and you'll get a username and password for our database server. But in the beginning, in the first part of the module, we will only work with the web space. Only down the line, when we start using a database, will you actually need the database log. Okay, so I think we've probably all used the internet for a while, and we've all seen how websites used to look like very long ago, and they were just static. There's HTML code that basically describes how a website is supposed to look like. So you can say, make this text bold, put a picture in this corner, put a table in the corner, but this is all static. You create this page now, it will still be the same in 5 and 10 years' time. You created a website for your cousin 10 years ago and you said happy 15th birthday. The website will still say happy 15th birthday, even now 10 years later. It's static, it will not change. But this is how HTML started. Then, late 90s, people started mixing programming languages in. The idea was websites, that's such a great thing, but it's a bit boring that the page always stays the same. If I want the page to change up to the mid-90s, something like that, I had to log onto the server. I had to modify the file with the HTML code that describes how the page looks like. I had to save the file, and then when people looked, it changed. So you make a website for your cousin's birthday. Dear cousin, happy 15th birthday. Dear cousin, happy 16th birthday. Now you need to log in every year to update it. Then the idea came, we have programming languages anyway. Let's combine HTML with a programming language. Let's create some code that can actually change the HTML code. So instead of you visiting a website, meaning that you ask the web server to send you the HTML file that has been stored on the hard disk. Now when we visit a website, we will ask the web server, and the web server will run some code. And the code that is running on the web server will generate the HTML that we need to use. So it can, for example, you visit the website in the morning, it can say good morning. You visit the website in the evening, it can say good evening, because the web server will have a time and you can check the time. But obviously, by default, you're not sure where your visitor is from. So if you say good morning, your visitor could be from another continent. It might not be morning for them. Again, we could take that into account. We could actually check what's the IP address of the visitor. Because then they take that IP address, go to some other server on the internet and ask that other server in which country is this IP address located. But yeah, late 90s it started. We started with PHP, with other dynamic languages. And PHP very soon became dominant. There were other languages around, and there were methods of combining any language you want with PHP. But PHP was not bad, was quite good. So it became more or less the dominant language. That's why places like Facebook, MediaWiki, that's the software behind Wikipedia, and so on, are all programmed in PHP. WordPress, I mentioned it before, or the CMS, we're going to use Joomla, also programmed in PHP. Okay. What else is there? Yeah. Then we started thinking, instead of just writing, good morning, instead of just writing good morning, good afternoon, and so on, instead of basically the visitors of our website just consuming the website, just reading the website, we can make it interactive. We can take information from the visitors that visited the website. I think hopefully just a test. So wait a moment.
Just before 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, Greenbank, it's over. Greenbank has it on Wednesday mornings, right? And in every building is on. Well, now we can empty this. Oh, what's that? Anyway. So, where did I? So the idea now was, so we'll have a fire alarm every week. Yeah. So the idea was we can make the whole thing interactive. Instead of just consuming information, we can, for example, ask the visitor for some information and we can record that information. Now we could just record that information by saving it as a file on the server's hard disk. But that gets pretty cumbersome. This is where databases come in. Yeah. And the whole thing, again, got pretty big pretty soon. So you can have a message board on the internet. Anybody here using Reddit? We just spread it out. Anybody using this one? Yeah. So how would you describe it?
Like a forum.
Yeah, like a forum. Yeah. So the idea is we can have some. Are we all clear what a forum is? Also called bulletin board. You can discuss something. Yeah. Let's say you're into bonsais or whatever you might be into. Maybe there'll be other bonsai fans, and you can discuss all the ins and outs of bonsai trees or whatever it might be. Yeah. The point is, you can fill in a form. In HTML, we call it a form, but basically you can fill in information. For example, your contribution to the discussion, and it will be saved in a database on the server. Yeah. So we can take information from the visitor, we can store it in a database, we can retrieve it again. And the whole dependence on databases got bigger and bigger. So now with our CMS, we have basically a situation where even the text of the web page that's not changing very often, that has been created by the people behind the website, where even this kind of content will be stored in a database. Yeah. So we often have this situation where everything is stored in a database except the actual code that connects it all. And most web pages these days, whether it's Wikipedia, whether it's Facebook, whether it's a CMS, they're basically just a collection of PHP files that will basically just retrieve information from the database and will present it in a specific way. Yeah. So we all know Facebook, is that right? We all know what Facebook is? Yeah. So on average, let's say if you have 200 friends on Facebook, what will happen? Let's say for argument's sake, you have a Facebook account. You log on. What we will check is, we'll check a database table where we will check who are your friends. We will then check another database table where we can basically see what have those 200 people written in the last hours, and we will display it for you. So the whole thing is a mechanism where you log on. Now we know who your friends are. We'll take your friends' last information out of the database. You log on to Facebook, you have 200 different friends, or maybe there's some overlap, who knows. Yeah, it's exactly the same code running. And the code says check the friends, take the information out of the database, display it. But in your case, because you have 200 different friends, the PHP code will pull different information out of the database, and you will get a very different content when you visit the Facebook page. Same with Wikipedia and so on. So basically websites these days are just code running that will retrieve information from a database and will present it in a nice way. So for this module there are a few books on our reading list, and as should be the case with all your modules, all your reading lists will be online. Let's have a click on that link. Now the good news is I don't want you to buy any of those books unless you want to, because this is a web-related topic. You can find more or less everything you want on the web. Sorry, this is not BU 2006, this is BT3023. Here we are. Content management. And here's a link of books that are useful for this module. Let me just zoom in a bit. I'm recording these lectures, by the way. Now I can ask the university to put subtitles under the videos. Is that interesting for anybody here? Because maybe of a hearing impairment, or because you struggle with my German accent, or because English is not your first language. If anybody's interested, I'll ask them to put subtitles on, otherwise I'll just leave it. Anybody interested? No one. Well, good. Means you can understand me, I guess. Okay, so here are a few books, and here this is quite interesting. Lynda.com, Lynda spelled with a Y. It's usually quite expensive. I think it belongs to LinkedIn, and doesn't LinkedIn belong to Microsoft these days? I'm not sure. So there are videos that explain all sorts of things. If you want to know how to draw pictures with a colored pencil, or if you want to learn about project management, or whatever it might be, there are lots of videos there. And there are also some about CMS fundamentals. So you can go there, and if you want some additional information, if you want to learn more, or if you want to learn ahead, you can watch those videos. They will not be the same as what I'll be doing. But if you're really interested into this topic, maybe you want to do this in the future, or maybe you want to make a CMS for whatever your hobby is, or for your friend's business, or whatever it might be. Have a look there. Yeah, you've probably seen it, but all your reading lists should be there. So if you want to find a reading list for any of your modules, you go to that page and you find the reading list. And if there's, for example, an electronic copy of the book, you can read it straight away online. Look, access the ebook. So I can even directly read the ebook from here. Or you can go to the library and pick up a paper copy of the book. Okay. Yeah. Also, the Joomla website has a lot of useful information. Okay. So, I shouldn't have shown the page yet. I just assume you didn't see it. How old is the internet? How long has the internet been around? Have a guess. You saw it, didn't you? Oh, you didn't? Oh, good. How long has the internet been around? Have a guess. 60 years, 50 years. 60 years, 50 years? Yeah, you're quite good.
I don't know.
Yeah. I thought more, you see that it's kind of a big question, because there's a difference between the internet and the web. And the internet has been around since the 60s, but the web only has been around since the 90s. What's the difference between the internet and the web?
It's got the network. between using
Which one?
web as a network, and then internet is like the communication between people. Or what?
You might mean the right thing, I'm not sure. The internet is basically the infrastructure that makes it all happen. Yeah. The internet
Yeah,
is the
sorry.
infrastructure, yeah. And the web basically is web page. The web is HTML. The web used to be king. Yeah. Most of, obviously, you know, we had the internet since the 60s. So people used email before the web. I used emails before the web. I used email since 1991 or something like that, but I only used the web since 95 or something like that. Yeah, so the internet has been around before the web was around. And when the web came, that's basically what made everything mainstream. In the past, you needed very unusual ways of accessing the web, but it became so popular so fast that it became a consumer thing, that you could buy internet access from your telecom provider thanks to the popularity of the web. But these days, actually, web isn't as big as it used to be. At least not when you measure bytes transmitted over the internet. Obviously, the web is still super popular and it's getting more and more popular. We all use the web more and more. But less and less of the internet traffic is actually web traffic. What do you think is a lot of the traffic now? See, if you use the web, you're downloading basically some HTML code that displays a website for you. Can you think of something that would use up much more bandwidth of your internet connection if you use it? Anybody here using Netflix? Amazon Prime TV? Yeah. If you stream an hour of HD video on Netflix or Amazon Prime TV, that's so much data, it will take you a really, really long time of surfing the web to generate the same amount of data. Plus, more and more of our internet use works over apps on our mobile phone. Now, those apps, they might just use something called an API, and it might use web technology to send the same information into the app. But it could also be done in another way. So, I mean, percentage-wise, things like, streaming videos, that's a huge chunk of the internet now. People are already scanning in for the next. Yeah. So I guess we'll call it a day for now, and I'll continue on this slide next week. So there's no computer workshop today because you don't have accounts yet. So that's it for this week. I'll create accounts for you, and next week we have lecture and computer room session.